Your life has no foundation. Right now, somewhere in your city, there's a guy like Alex staring at his laptop with 7 tabs open. Top 10 millionaire habits. AI tools you need. Morning routine of billionaires. Dopamine detox. How to be more disciplined. He's not lazy. He's not clueless. He's doing everything the internet tells him to do, but his life still feels like wet concrete. Busy but not solid. Motivated but not dangerous. His career shifts every 6 months. His routines work for 3 days, then collapse. Every new system feels powerful at first, and then quietly dies. If that feels a bit like your life too, Musashi would say something brutal. You're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because you never learned ground. Almost 400 years ago, Miyamoto Musashi, the samurai who went undefeated in over 60 duels, retreated to a cave in Japan to write down what he had really learned about winning. Not motivation, not hacks, strategy. The first chapter of his book, the Ground Book, the Scroll of Earth, is not about fancy sword moves. It's about how to build a life the way you build a fortress, from the ground up, or not at all. He talks about foundations, the craft of the warrior, and why most people drift through life without ever choosing a real way. And the more you read him, the more uncomfortable it gets. Because you start to see yourself in every mistake he's warning about. By the end of this video, you'll see your job, your habits, and your daily chaos in a completely different light. But first, Musashi says you have to face one hard truth. You're not just living. You're already in a fight, whether you study strategy or not. If you like what you see so far, and before we dive into this first chapter, please like, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss any of my new videos. Chapter 1. The Way of Strategy. You're not just living, you're fighting. Musashi starts with something people today hate to hear. Strategy is not optional. It's a way of life. In his time, there were many ways. The way of the farmer, the artist, the carpenter, the merchant. Every person had a craft. But Musashi says there is one way that sits underneath all the others. The way of strategy, the craft of the warrior. And here's the part that stings. He doesn't say it's just for elite generals or legendary fighters. He says it should be understood by everyone, from the commander to the lowest soldier. Translate that to now. It means strategy isn't just for CEOs, chess prodigies, or founders with a podcast. It's for you, whether you're stacking shelves, running a startup, studying for exams, or driving Uber. Think about your day. You're negotiating time with your boss. You're competing with coworkers for promotions. You're trying to protect your focus from apps designed to drain it. You're deciding who to trust, who to avoid, what risks to take, and what to walk away from. That's not just living. That's conflict. That's positioning. That's strategy. The problem is, most people treat life like a series of random events. New job, try it. New trend, try it. New routine, try it. They react, they cope, they improvise, but they never sit down and ask, what is my way? What game am I actually playing? Musashi would look at the average person today and see a soldier walking into battle in gym shorts and a smile, hoping the enemy isn't that serious. No armor, no plan, no understanding of terrain, just vibes. He believed that if you exist inside a world of conflict, and you do, then refusing to learn strategy isn't peace, it's surrender. You can be kind, spiritual, creative, gentle. None of that contradicts strategy. But if you ignore it, you're handing your life to people who don't. So when Musashi talks about the Ground Book, he's not giving you a cute philosophy quote to post on Instagram. He's handing you a responsibility. Choose your way. Study how the game you're in actually works. Stop pretending you're not on a battlefield. Because once you accept that, something powerful happens. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, how do I position myself so this never happens again? But even if you accept that you need strategy, Musashi says most people still stay weak for one simple reason. They only train one half of themselves and completely ignore the other. Chapter 2. Pen and Sword. Why one skill set will never be enough. Musashi says the warrior's way is twofold: pen and sword. Not pen or sword. Both. On the surface, it sounds poetic. In reality, it's savage. Because he's calling out a mistake almost everyone makes today, becoming dangerously one-dimensional. Think of the sword as your hard skills: coding, editing, sales calls, design work, lifting weights, the things you do with your hands and your body. The pen is everything you do with your mind: thinking clearly, writing, planning, reading deeply, understanding people, seeing patterns before others do. Musashi was an undefeated swordsman, but he didn't just swing steel. He painted, he studied calligraphy, he wrote about strategy, art, and life. He didn't separate warrior from thinker. To him, that separation was weakness. Now look at modern life. You've got the gym-obsessed guy who's physically impressive but can't hold a difficult conversation without becoming defensive or silent. You've got the smart guy who reads 40 books a year but treats his body like a rental car and collapses after one flight of stairs. Or take someone like Daniel, a brilliant developer. He can build anything. His sword is razor sharp, but in meetings, he mumbles, avoids eye contact, and can't explain his ideas without getting lost. A less talented coworker, not as fast, not as smart, gets promoted over him again and again, simply because that coworker can communicate with clarity and confidence. Daniel thinks life is unfair. Musashi would say Daniel only brought half of himself to the battlefield. Flip it. Maya is a charismatic marketer. She's great with people, fantastic in presentations, incredible with clients. Her pen is strong, but she never sits down to build hard skills: analytics, deep platform knowledge, offer creation. When the market changes and new tools appear, she can't adapt. Her charm buys her time, but not real power. Pen without sword is fragile. Sword without pen is blunt. Musashi is warning you: if you only train what feels natural, your way becomes a costume. You might look impressive, but under pressure, the gaps show. In a world where people brag about being the ideas guy, or just the execution person, Musashi would roll his eyes. A true strategist doesn't hide behind labels. They build range. They learn to cut and to think. But even if you accept this and start working on both mind and skill, there's another trap he points out in the ground book. You can have pen, you can have sword, and still lose if the ground you're standing on is weak. Chapter 3. Ground first. Building a life that doesn't collapse under stress. Musashi says a house doesn't collapse because the decorations are ugly. It collapses because the ground was wrong from the beginning. And this is where most modern people fail. Not in ambition, not in talent, but in foundation. They try to build a skyscraper on sand and wonder why everything sinks the moment life applies pressure. Musashi uses the Earth chapter to hammer this truth before anything else, before advanced tactics, before elegant techniques, before clever strategy. Your ground must be solid. What does that mean today? It means your life has structural problems long before it has motivational problems. Take Marco. He's the classic modern entrepreneur, endlessly redesigning his website, tweaking his logo, obsessing over brand colors, watching videos on positioning. His Notion dashboard looks like a piece of digital art, but his sales process, a joke. He avoids calls, he skips follow-ups, he never tracks his numbers. He's decorating the house while the foundation is cracking underneath him. Musashi has specific ground principles, brutal, simple truths most people avoid. Do not think dishonestly. Most people lie to themselves more than they lie to others. They say they're building a business, but they're just designing the business. They say they're learning a skill, but they're just watching content about the skill. They say they're on a journey, but can't point to anything measurable. The way is in training, not planning, not visualizing, not reading inspirational quotes. Training, reps, execution under resistance. Pay attention even to trifles, because the tiny cracks in your life are the ones that destroy you over time. Impulse spending, doom scrolling, half sleep, cheap dopamine, do nothing which is of no use. This one is a knife. It cuts through fake productivity instantly. How much of your life is filled with tasks that look important, but change nothing? Endless reorganizing, resetting your routine every week, trying new apps, buying courses you don't finish, thinking about your dreams instead of building the ground they stand on. Musashi's message is simple and humiliating. Most people fail because they don't have foundations, they have decorations. And when he talks about ground, he means the boring, unsexy things that modern culture ignores. Your sleep, your finances, your real skill level, your ability to focus for 45 minutes without breaking, your integrity with yourself. These are the things that determine whether you rise or collapse, long before the world ever sees your talent. Once your ground is solid, everything else becomes easier. Your routines stick. Your decisions make sense. Your goals stop wobbling every week. But here's the twist. Musashi throws at you next, and it's far more uncomfortable. Even with perfect foundations, people still fail because they see the world the wrong way. And he says the difference between an amateur and a strategist comes down to one skill that almost no one today has mastered. A skill he called the twofold gaze. Chapter 4. Twofold gaze. How strategists see what everyone else misses. Musashi talks about something he calls the twofold gaze: perception and sight. Seeing distant things as if they were close. Seeing close things from a distance. It sounds mystical, but it's not. It's the difference between living inside your problems and seeing the whole battlefield. Most people are stuck in one of two modes. They're either zoomed in so far that every tiny issue feels like the end of the world, or zoomed out so far that everything becomes vague, theoretical, and unreal. Take Sophia, a marketing manager. She spends 3 days obsessing over the shade of a button on her landing page. Hex codes, split tests, 3 versions of the same design, zoomed all the way in. But if she stepped back, she'd see something brutal. The offer is wrong. The audience is wrong. The message doesn't match what people actually want. Musashi would say she's staring at a single stone and ignoring the shape of the entire mountain. Then there's Ray, a student who spends hours making her notes beautiful, color-coded, perfect handwriting. Aesthetic study sessions posted to her story, but she never once zooms out to ask, which exams matter most? What skills do I actually need after graduation? What direction is my life even moving in? She's not studying, she's decorating her confusion. The twofold gaze means you can do both on command. You can zoom in and notice tiny patterns, your mood dropping at 11 p.m., the exact situations that trigger procrastination, the precise moment a sales call goes cold. And you can zoom out and see the big arcs. What kind of person you're becoming, whether your way is coherent, whether your daily actions match the future you keep talking about. Musashi's ground book is warning you. If you only live zoomed in, you drown in details. If you only live zoomed out, you float in fantasy. The strategist can switch fast. In modern life, that means looking at your week like a general looks at a map. Where are the real battles? Where are you wasting troops? What are you fighting for that isn't even your war? Once you start seeing like this, something strange happens. You stop arguing about tiny things that don't move the needle, and you start changing the few things that change everything. But even with sharp vision, there's a deeper trap. Musashi hated with a passion one that modern life is completely addicted to, looking powerful instead of being powerful. Chapter 5. No flashy forms. Why aesthetic hustle is making you weak. Musashi despised what he called technical flourishes, pretty moves that did nothing but look impressive. If a technique didn't help you cut down the opponent, he saw it as dead weight. In his world, that kind of obsession could literally get you killed. In our world, it just slowly ruins your life. Today we worship aesthetic hustle. People don't build power, they build the image of power. You see it everywhere. Perfectly curated workspaces, time-blocked calendars screenshot for social media, rise and grind posts at 5 a.m., followed by zero meaningful work by 11 a.m. Take Noah, a sales rep. His pipeline tracker is a masterpiece. Every lead is tagged, color-coded, sorted into stages. He spends hours polishing his CRM, tweaking labels, reorganizing columns. Ask him, how many new people did you actually reach out to today? Silence. Zero. On paper, he looks like a professional. In reality, he's rehearsing forever. Musashi would call that a school of swordsmanship that cares more about posture and pose than winning duels. It may impress beginners, but anybody who's been in a real fight can smell the weakness. And it's not just work. People do this with self-improvement too. The person who constantly resets their routine, buys a new journal, posts about day 1 every Monday, but never survives long enough to reach day 30. The guy who knows every productivity method by name, but can't sit still for 40 minutes to do deep work. The girl who talks endlessly about healing, the boundaries and growth, but keeps reenacting the same patterns with slightly different people. Musashi would look at all of this and ask one question. Does it help you win? Not does it look inspiring? Not does it feel spiritual? Not will it impress strangers online? Just does it produce results in the real world? The ground book cuts through the fog. Form is useful only if it serves function. Ritual is powerful only if it sharpens reality. If your system doesn't help you land clients, build skill, deepen focus, or strengthen character, it's not strategy, it's theater. This is why Musashi's writing feels almost rude. He rips away everything decorative and forces you to stare at the truth. In the long run, there are only two things that matter: what you train and when you act. And that leads to the most important sentence he ever wrote about the way. The way is in training, not in aesthetics, not in clever quotes, in what you're willing to do over and over when nobody is watching. And once you understand how he thought about training, and especially about timing, you'll never look at your motivation problem the same way again. Chapter 6. The way is in the training, timing, reps, and boring mastery. When Musashi says, the way is in training, he's not being poetic. He's giving you the most boring, powerful cheat code of your life. He's saying, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your training. Most people think they have a motivation problem. Musashi would say they have a repetition problem and a timing problem. He was obsessed with timing. The right moment to step in, the right moment to hold back, the rhythm of a duel, the rhythm of life. To him, a warrior with great technique but bad timing was dead. Think about Mina, a content creator. She releases one viral video, disappears for 3 weeks, then comes back, shocked that the algorithm forgot her. From Musashi's view, it's simple. Her timing is broken. Her training rhythm doesn't exist. Or the guy who goes to the gym for 2 hours a day, for 9 days, and then not at all for the next 3 months. He believes he tried, but his body doesn't care about heroic bursts. It obeys the math of repetition. Musashi would rather see you practice 1 cut every day for a year than 1,000 cuts once in a rush of inspiration. Applied to modern life, that means this: if your career, body, or mindset hasn't changed, it's not because the universe hates you. It's because your training is not real. Real training is boring, small, relentless. It happens on days you're tired. It happens when nobody is tracking you. It happens when you feel off and your brain starts bargaining. Just skip today, restart tomorrow. That's the duel, not the TED Talk, not the before and after photo. The quiet moment when you either follow your old timing or build a new one. Musashi's life was built on tiny repeated acts of alignment with his way. No cameras, no applause, just training, day after day, until battle felt like an extension of his normal life, instead of a special event. What would your life look like if your work, your art, your relationships felt like that? Not a performance, but the natural result of how you train every single day. Because that's where the ground book is secretly pushing you. To stop treating life as random chaos, and to start treating it as a dojo you design on purpose. The question is, how do you actually do that? In a modern world full of distractions, deadlines, and noise. For that, you need your own version of the ground book. A personal protocol that turns your messy life into a training ground. Chapter 7. Your ground book protocol, turning modern life into a dojo. So let's make this real. If Musashi was sitting across from you today, he wouldn't just drop philosophy and disappear. He'd push you to write your own ground book. Not a literal book, a protocol, a way of living that makes strategy your default setting, instead of an occasional mood. Start with one question. What is your way? Not, I want to be successful. That's a feeling. Your way is a craft. Developer, filmmaker, designer, trader, founder, coach, writer. Pick one primary identity for the next few years and stop pretending you can master 10 at once. Musashi didn't try to be a dancer and a farmer and a politician. He was a strategist, expressed through the sword and the pen. Next, write your own ground rules, your Earth chapter. 3 to 5 lines that define how you operate, no matter what. For example, I do not lie to myself about my effort or my results. The way is in training. I practice my craft daily, even in tiny doses. I do nothing, which is of no use. Fake productivity gets cut. Put them somewhere you see every day. And more importantly, let them cost you something. If a habit, relationship, or routine violates those rules, it has to change or go. Then build your pen and sword. Choose one hard skill and one thinking communication skill to train on purpose this year. Maybe sword editing, coding, sales, design, lifting, pen, writing, public speaking, negotiation, deep reading, strategic thinking. You don't have to master everything. You just have to stop hiding behind. That's not my thing, when it's clearly a missing limb. Now, design your training rhythm. Not a 25-step fantasy routine. 2 or 3 non-negotiable practices that happen almost every day, no matter what. For example, 45 minutes of focused work on your main skill before checking notifications. 20 minutes of body training. 10 minutes of writing or reflection to sharpen the pen. Small, sustainable, boring enough to last. Finally, practice the twofold gaze. Once a day, zoom in. What did I actually do? What worked? What didn't? Once a week, zoom out. Is my way still clear? Is my strategy still real? Or am I drifting? You don't need perfection. You need a ground that's real. Because when you start living like this for 60, 90, 180 days, something eerie happens. From the outside you look lucky. On the inside you know exactly what you're doing. And that's where Musashi wanted you. Not inspired for a moment, but dangerous over time. All that's left now is one question. The ground book quietly asks you at the end. Are you willing to stop being a spectator in your own life and actually live like a strategist? Final chapter, from chaos to grounded. Living like a modern strategist. There's one more thing the ground book does that most self-help never touches. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't tell you you're special. It tells you the truth. If your life is shaky, it's because your ground is. If your progress is random, it's because your training is. If your results are confusing, it's because your way isn't clear. Musashi wasn't born into comfort. He didn't grow up with a brand team, a newsletter, and an audience. He fought duels with real blades, against real enemies, with real consequences. And yet, the problems he writes about in the ground book are exactly the ones you face now, just with different weapons. Distraction instead of arrows. Comfort instead of cold steel. Soft lies instead of hard reality. You don't need to become a samurai. You don't need to move to a mountain, shave your head, or throw your phone into a river. You just need to stop living like everything that happens to you is an accident. When you treat your job like a dojo, the boring meeting becomes training in patience and persuasion. When you treat your workout like strategy, the last rep becomes practice in timing and will. When you treat your relationships like a craft, conflicts stop being drama and start being feedback. That's the shift Musashi is begging you to make from page 1. From I hope things work out to I am building my ground, one decision at a time. So as this video ends, don't binge another one just to feel inspired. Take 5 minutes and actually write. What is my way for the next 3 years? What are my 3 ground rules? What is one tiny daily training I'm willing to commit to, starting tomorrow? Not 10. 1. Because the truth nobody tells you is this: your life is already showing you what you're trained for. Your current results are your current ground book, written in real time. If you don't like what you're reading, stop arguing with the story and start rewriting the ground.